Good evening, known world. I am excellent Rahmut al-Tayyiba, coming to you from the barony of Bronzehelm in the kingdom of Artemisia. And tonight with me, we have Moon Hides the Sun, and we're going to walk on down the road of retention. Moon, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, I'm Moon. I'm from Gellir. I've played off and on over the last over 32 years now. Started when I was not quite 16, but I am not a second gen kid. So I'm kind of going at this for a while.
Almost 30, but not quite. So tonight we are going to talk about a topic that you know quite a bit about and are kind of an expert, in my opinion, about it. And that's about the affordability of the SCA and how to make it more affordable.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I'm more of a trial by fire kind of person. So
definitely.
So the big thing is when I started, I was in high school doing this on my own. Didn't have a whole lot of money, I'm not exactly from a well-to-do family. So add that on, it's trying to figure out how to do things, how to make it happen, kind of going from there. So I've learned a lot over the last 3 decades. Yeah. So yeah, the SCA is the majority of my life. Yeah. Doing this thing. So.
Well, yeah. So looking at it from that perspective of a 16-year-old, high school student or a college student that may not have disposable income, which definitely can hinder somebody playing in the SCA. You've kind of come up with different strategies and different tips on how to make that more functionable and achievable.
Yeah. So, I mean, now I have the Skraeling Saga, which is like a YouTube channel and a Facebook page and stuff where I try and show what I'm working on and like how I did it. But when I was younger, my dad was a scrounger, so it kind of wore off. So it was that looking for things in out of the ordinary places that you wouldn't normally think to look, that you could find something that would work. So, and especially now in like the age of cosplay and stuff like that, we're cosplay. I mean, there's no reason to say we're not.
Nope. I agree with you 100%.
We're historical cosplay. That's the only difference. I think though that sometimes something we forget is that 10-foot rule. It's only got to look good from a real distance. If people are up touching you and like seeing what you did, well, first they're a little too close. You can step back and say, "Hey, can I look at that?" Then you can go, "Yeah, thanks. It's got pockets." That kind of thing. But yeah, it's like taking all those different, cosplay reenactments, just being poor and creative kind of mentalities, because it really is. It's a mentality. Because if you got the money to just throw at something, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But if you got to make it happen on your own, learn how to do it, And when I started, it was like pre-internet, you went to the library and kind of, what is this in the book, and try and scrounge or hope somebody had like more physical example, and then
or a handout from a class.
Yeah, and it was grainy and had that dirty, Xerox copy look to it, and you're trying to figure it out. Yeah.
How does this gusset or this gore go into this part of this tunic armpit?
Or what is a gusset or a gore? Or do I even have to do that to make it look right?
Or can I just cheat and cut the pattern with it already pre-built in?
Yep.
Absolutely. So what type of places that you used to go to that are still around would you recommend to people trying to start dipping their toes into the game without breaking the bank?
Antique stores,
Okay.
flea markets, garage sales, all those strange little things. I couldn't find it. I actually had it was something my mom goes, "This is one of your things, right?" And it was a purse. And I'm like, "No." But she's like, "No, it's got to be because it's all leather and has the thing." It was shaped just like one of those Norse pouches with the little flap and down to the strap. Had a little strap in the back, but it had a cord as a purse. And it was from like I figure late 70s, early 80s. I won't believe it. I'm like, sure, I will take that.
My
Took the cord
first
out, put it on my belt.
SCA leather pouch was a garage sale find that was from the 60s that somebody was getting rid of. That was a tooled leather, and it was shaped like, almost like the kidney pouches.
Oh yeah.
And it had a handle, and I was like, oh, hey, cool, I can put this on a belt. Boom. So
every once in a while when we're like at an appointment in Lawrence, we'll go, they have an antique mall. All right. So people know I'm from Kansas. I live like a little ways from Lawrence, a little ways from Manhattan. I'm like right between KU and K-State. The world's at war with colors, sports ball, all that stuff. I don't really
sports
care
ball.
about. But like Lawrence has an antique mall that's actually pretty old. It's like 3 stories, and it's just full of these little spaces. So we'll go in there and we'll look around. I've picked up like fabric that's like, leftover bolts and rolls of like upholstery stuff, and it'll say $4. And you're like, is this $4? Or like, no, it's everything that's on there. And you're like, oh, okay. I will carry this heavy thing around with me. I think the recent one, like, my wife and I were looking at putting a like Turkish coffee set together. Just something.
I'm in the
like,
process.
Something for like tournaments and stuff like that. That's one of our friends is Michael Nethery, who he's a peer in society, but he's also a professional archaeologist. Always going to like the Middle East and stuff. And he came back for a crown tourney, and with his Turkish set and how he learned how to make coffee there, and he's just like, and he hands out coffee. We're like,
well,
yeah,
yes, please. Oh, perfect, Bethany.
Yes.
Thrift shops, a little sewing and leatherworking gets you pretty far.
Goodwill.
Resale.
Yeah.
You could get my first set of feast gear, being poor high school student, right from Salvation Army and Goodwill and wherever I could find.
Ooh, Big Lots.
Big Lots, Super Savers. I think it's Savers, which is like a secondhand kind of store.
Our we don't care about feast gear. It can break and we're okay. We're not going to cry because it's not our fancy. We care about pottery type stuff. Big Lots had this very ornamental, looked very Middle Eastern, very Arabic like hole, and it's that plastic stuff that until you tap on it, you don't realize it's not ceramic. And they had like a whole set, everything to like the big giant junk bowl and everything platter, and I'm like, cool. And it was like $2 or something crazy for like each little set. And I'm like, and then we were at Target just getting stuff, normal stuff, and they have these little plastic cups that look like they're blown glass. In fact, we had to stop and make sure it wasn't blown glass because it sure looked like blown glass. And next thing you know, it's like tap, tap, tap. Oh, crap, that's plastic.
Well, because a lot of sites will even say like, hey, no ceramics, no glass. And that kind of changes, what you A, bring, and B, how much money are you going to spend?
Yeah.
So instead of, spending a bunch of money on something super, super expensive and super precious to you that you take to your first event or your 120th event and you drop it and it shatters. I'm not going to cry over shattered plastic, but I would definitely cry over shattered blown glass.
Yeah. Or you're staying there drinking at it. Everybody's like, ooh, and then you drop it and they're like, and it just bounces and you're like, yeah, cool. Then they're like,
my husband and I recently found the silicone pint, Silipint, and it
ooh,
looks like marble or glass that's, colored like marble. And I was at an event and someone's like, oh, you can't have that in here. It's glass. And I just took the cup and I went, squeeze. And they're like, oh, because silicone. So little things like that are cheaper alternatives to the real thing that you can get. Definitely help lower the cost, because we put in a lot of money in our game, and that's just in the events and traveling. If you do any traveling, that doesn't count your garb, your feast gear, your armor, accessories, camping equipment. I mean, the cost it can be monumental. So, finding those ways.
So I I hear people talk about, people spend the money on what, it's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but some people would really like to do some things that just don't have that disposable cash to just throw whatever. And if we do everything we can to make it more affordable, then we have more people to play with. So last couple of years, I heard, one of our peers was like, we were talking about something, and she goes, less stuff, more people. Quit packing the car full of things and grab a couple people and pack them in the car instead.
Well, and for a long time, that used to be how it was.
Yes.
I mean, you would literally grab the bare essentials of what you needed and your buddies and cram into the smallest vehicle possible and zip to an event and all sleep in the most raggedy taggedy bubble pimple tent that you could find, and have a great old time, because it was the people, not necessarily the extravaganza, which is nice because it helps color the dream, but it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg to get everything or make everything or trade and barter for things that you would like.
Yeah, when you're cramming 5 guys in a Camry and all their armor and the weapons are sticking through, and the guy's trying to drive the stick around the spears and the pole arms. Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's kind of become be the guy you needed when you're doing your stuff. So for me, I needed that person to show me how this stuff was done or how it could be done, because I didn't have anybody to show. It's not like my parents weren't willing to help with some things if they could figure it out. But, you're busy with things. And I was living in Albuquerque, going to school, didn't have anything, was still trying to figure out how to get armor, all the stuff. And this guy he was the baronial henchman. That was his
baronial henchman.
That was his job title for Baroness Susan the midwife. And he goes, hey, I can't go to this event. You're going to go. I'm like, dude, I'm poor. And he goes, doesn't matter. You're going because you're filling in for me. I'm like, why? He goes, because I got some things to do. I got dad things. You're going to go. And he took his time to help me get my armor together. I'd gotten the pieces. I had some stuff I was still trying to find, and he literally cut it off an old suit of his own, helped fit it to me. I'm hanging out in his garage, and we're just pounding away at stuff. He's showing me how it's done. He's like, cool, now go, and don't make me look bad. I'm like, I'm like 18. And I'm like, dude, he's like, no, you're good. do it for the next guy.
And really, it's those mentors that we had starting out, those people,
Yeah.
or maybe down the road, not even when we started, that made us want to stay, made us want to be those people.
Yeah. And so like my first night was Viscount's Returner. He is, first Prince of Callantyre. He was also a Pelican. So for us, and maybe me a little bit more than some of my other squire brothers and stuff, I was almost more his protege and his squire. Because for me and him, it was, no, we're gonna go do this thing, and then you're gonna come back, and then we'll go have the fun. The rest of them, they were always off having the fun, which was cool. Swinging the sticks and things. It was like, nah, we got to go do this thing. Come on, go do the thing.
Well, and it's kind of that mentality. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, and I've just tried to take it with me.
Early?
So like now, it's like being that guy for the people that need it. Or even if they don't necessarily need it, they can like watch.
Well, and sometimes they don't even know they need it, but having that somebody there to do that and be that guy for them or that girl for them.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. I don't know if you feel similarly, but starting in the SCA at teenage years, it kind of ingrained that you volunteer and you do the things at events and for your fellow SCA members, because if you do it so that they don't have to when they're not able to, it makes it more enjoyable for them, and that enjoyment kind of carries back to you.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, okay, sooner the grunt work is done, the sooner all the fun stuff starts.
Many hands make light work.
Exactly.
And the same with your game. I mean, with your kits, like Garb. I mean, if you've never made it before, trying to make it by yourself and you don't have the skills or the know-how.
Yeah. I'm old enough that, you can learn how to sew in home ec at school. It did not help that the home ec teacher was also my godmom. So I was a little ahead, but I also got that you should already know how to do this when I didn't always know. So like, okay, hand sewing. Yes, I can hand sew. Not that great. I can run a machine. Does it look as pretty as something that, the people are technically seamstresses and tailors can do? No. Now though, because my wife, she's like, depending on what she's doing, she hand sews way faster than she uses the machine, depending on what she does. So it's like, here, no, you'll do this. It's like, ding, ding, ding. And then she got mad at me because, I'll do something. She's like, that's not what I showed you. I'm like, oh, but that's what works for me.
Well, it's 10 foot. If it gets the job done, but 10 feet away looks good. You've put forth that effort.
Yeah. Well, so she's actually, she started looking at things a little bit more like I do sometimes. Like, will this look good? Now she's like, hey, see that thing? I'm like, oh yeah. So like, good example, like we're tooling through IKEA, right? And I've had these project ideas of like, Viking in a bag or Roman in a bag. It's just like this little project bit of, find the bag or make the bag, find the things that go in it, boom, you have a whole outfit. Right? So IKEA, bizarrely enough, our most recent queen, she has this as a dress, but it's these tablecloths. They're these long tablecloths. But on a guy my size, if you just fold it over, cut a neck hole, and sew down the size, it's a Roman tunic. You didn't do anything, and it cost you like $12,
which is about what you would pay for just plain fabric yardage, right, without any decoration.
And in this case, this one's linen, and it just happens to be woven, and yeah, it's all done. you
much
know,
more affordable, and time-wise, you don't
yeah,
have to fabric stamp the pattern on it. You don't have to applique the trim on it. So you've saved time, which time is money,
yep,
and you've minimized effort to get something that you are emulating a period looking item.
right. So like a good friend of mine for the longest time, he was wearing pajama pants. And you would never have known he was wearing pajama pants unless he told you. Because what you saw was these fabulous, kind of Celtic styled pants. Fabulous.
Well,
And they were just like ones he found somewhere.
and depending on where your persona is from, there are things that you can upcycle that definitely reduce the cost for minimal effort.
Oh yeah. Well, so like you had Helga on like the other week, right?
Yes.
Horse wraps make awesome leg wraps for Winnegas. And they don't cost as much as Winnegas, depending on what you are. And they already have the Velcro on there, and you just like boom, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. And they have a
You know,
little more stretch than the Winnegas has.
yeah,
Which
and
is
they're
kind
meant
of
to
nice.
cling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just those like little things of like knowing where to look, or just like the think out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so my wife collects spices. Her spice cabinet is this wall, that's enormous. Which involves going to like our local Mexican grocery store, which is like full of stuff. But they have like these grills for like $15. It's a
Mm-hmm.
ceramic grill. It looks like a Roman grill. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, cool. Now I have my camp and I can cook too, and kind of show off bits or another thing she's got. She's gonna she's gonna yell at me because I forget the name of the holiday. It's the Indian Festival Light or Festival of Colors, the little lamps.
And they look like Roman oil lamps.
Yep, and it's like I think this was like these were like $1 a piece, and it's like a
I'll do
pack
it
of 6
again.
or something. Yeah, it's like
That's perfect.
I mean it's like $5 for a pack of 6 or something like that. They're meant to be disposable, but they're awesome. People
And
use
you're
them all.
not going to cry if it, gets broken.
Well, you might because it's on
Well,
fire, but or little things like
assuming
that.
it's broken when it's not on fire.
True, but
We
yeah, you
don't
can.
need to like
Yeah, but you can go get another one. Really.
exactly. Well, another pack of 6.
Yeah.
So you and I share the I call it magpieing and you call it crowing.
Yeah.
The seeing shiny bits that you could either make into other shiny bits or trade for other shiny bits with other shiny bits hoarding
Yes.
magpies and crows. You want to
That's
talk
cool.
about your side of that?
Okay. So yeah, that Corvid mentality.
Yes.
So I had all this extra stuff kind of laying around the house one time, and we will tool into Kansas City over the summers and go to fighter practice because there's more people. It's not super far away. I think right then at the time I couldn't really fight because I was still recovering from shoulder surgery. So I had my little cheapo sheepskin blanket that my stepdad had found for me and went, here, you do stuff like this. Okay, that's my seat. And then I have this big blanket. So I took a trade blanket. And everybody's like, oh, an Indian with a trade blanket. I'm like, yep, I come bearing blankets. You should be careful. But I spread out stuff all over. I have games, I have little gambling games, things like that. But I also will just dump trinkets and then I will dump other stuff. Like I had extra material, I had extra clothes. I can do anything bad. Like people could trade for, and then they could just dump it down on there. So like a good friend of mine, he brought a leather bag. It is now my casino. Right? It's full of things because he was just kind of looking through. He's like, "Ooh, I need this. I need this," and we're swapping back and forth. But the upside to it, is you have people socializing. You have people looking for things they need. You have people getting rid of things they don't necessarily need, but somebody else can need it. We're not talking about we're dealing money. We're just handing stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple guys who driven they bailed from work as soon as they could, drove 2 hours to get to the closest fighter practice. They're getting loaner stuff. They're trying to figure out, and they're like, yeah, we're going to this event. We don't know what we're going to do. We still don't have all our stuff and all these things. And I look, and the guy's about my side. And I'm like, man, that's horrible. And I'm just throwing stuff at it. Like,
Nice.
you're going to need like a tunic and like maybe pants. Like, that guy's like a belt, and just grab and just tossing. It's like, oh, and man, I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to have to find something like eat off of. And he's just like holding all this stuff. And I'm like, it's tragic. And then I walked away. Because those are the things that the person's new. They need those things. We've got them. We have 30 years worth of extra clothes and stuff we may never wear again. Recycle into whatever doesn't fit anymore. Trust me, my first stuff wouldn't fit me now in any way, shape, or form.
Mine won't either.
But mine doesn't even fit my kid anymore. And he was, last time he was 16, and you look bad. But you can give those people those. It's not a medieval moment. It's that I'll remember that guy moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then that pay it forward moment. Hopefully later on, when they're later, been doing that for a few years, and they see the guy like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and the next thing you know, they're just like, well, you're gonna need that. You're gonna need that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking away.
Definitely.
So, I mean, for me, that's the important bit, but it's teaching people how to do it.
Well, and it's nice to be able to have those moments and like, hey, this is something that, I really, really loved. I've taken good care of it, but it no longer serves me. It no longer fits. It doesn't bring me joy. It doesn't, work with what I'm trying to do. You look like you could give it a new home. And then it's not just that you've given it to them so they can use it. You've made that human connection with them.
So like this one time, my ex-mother-in-law, she had this wall of fabric. It was labeled, it was in boxes, but it never came out of the box. So I asked her what it was about. And she was, yes.
Yes, Affleck. That's spark.
But I asked her what the deal was, and she's like, this lady that was, she was in hospice. She did quilting or something. She's like, here, take this, give it to other people that will actually use it. Mm-hmm. So she became like the steward of this wall. Right? And at the time I was doing emergency management, and it just said wool, and it was labeled out in like horrible color combinations. You would never like brown, green, and blue, and like something. And it was like literally listed by the colors, and you're like, that sounds hideous. I mean, it sounds awesome, but it's hideous. Right? Like, could I use those for like emergency blankets or whatever? And she's like, here you go. It was like these two big boxes. And I'm like, they didn't seem very big, but I got digging in them later. I wasn't doing the job. I was like, what am I going to do with this atrocious wool? And I will open it up, and it's beautiful. It's woven thick, various thicknesses. One said orange. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with orange wool? It's fabulous orange. In fact, I will get this and I will show you how fabulous this is. But the reason was fat.
Ooh.
But so like I had all this and this, like the red was in there. I don't know where the trim was, but I had all this fabric. I was starting back up after my divorce. I was at an event. I still had less than stellar garb on, and I'm in my fighting clothes. That's all I had. And I saw one of my friends who's also been in since she was like 16. I'm like, Rose, can you make me some clothes? And she's like, do you have stuff? I'm like, I have totes worth of stuff. I will just give it to you. You make me clothes, you keep the rest, or whatever. This was in there. She made this for me. It was the trait. It's like, I have the stuff. You have the talent. Can you make me the thing? Next thing you know, I have a wardrobe.
Well, and it's kind of that, if you fly, I'll buy,
Exactly.
I mean, not quite the same.
No, actually it is, because like the whole, more people, less stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friends and I, we all have this kind of standard thing. If our friends can't go, what's the point? It's probably not going to be fun.
So our friends, for a certain extent, are part of our comfort zone.
Yep.
When we have our friends, if something is uncomfortable or we have a moment of pause, we can turn to them and be like, hey, you're a human. This is what's going on. Where if you're at an event and you don't have your friends with, or the event is very small, it feels like half your comfort zone's gone.
Yeah. Well, and so like when I was starting back up after my divorce and everything, my friends like, we're going to an event. I'm like, cool, have fun. Because I'm like beyond poor right then. And they're like, no, get in the car. I'm like, get in the car. We're kidnapping you.
Yeah, it's called You Come With. We might make you help set up or haul something. But other than that, you're coming with. Don't worry about gas. Don't worry about sight. Don't worry about food. You're coming with. You might have to do cleanup. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know it's not as much the creating things, but it is that making the affordability thing. Like,
it is.
I was 17 and these guys were talking about going to Grand Outlandish.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, well, that sounds awesome. They're like, you want to go? I was like, dude, I can't afford that. And they're like, $50, man. All inclusive. I'm like, what? Friend of mine goes, I can't go. I've got finals. Writes this check, hands it to them, says, go. I'm like, dude, I don't. He's like, it's paid for. Pay me back when you get back.
And that's part of that affordability. That, hey, I'm going anyways. I'm going to be spending the money in gas regardless. Mm-hmm. I have empty seats, and not having somebody to talk to makes the drive that much longer.
Especially for 3 hours or Callantier, we drive everywhere.
12 hours.
Everywhere.
I'm in Artemisia, so we have and I'm in Montana. So from Montana all the way down to Utah, down to Salt Lake. I mean, that's a long drive. You're in the car for, 10 to 12 hours, depending on the roads and how many stops. Having a co-pilot totally saves your life.
Or several co-pilots cycle through, Yeah.
Somebody plays navigator at radio station, answers the phone while somebody drives. That's all I ask. I've got the empty seat.
Well, and like I'm working on projects and I might not, I live in an apartment. I don't have a house with, big shop and everything, but I know where one of the coolest shops on the planet is. Not Wolf Armory's right down the road. I might roll in and go, hey, Richard, can I use this thing? And he'll be like, sure, let me show you how to use this thing instead. Oh no, how horrible. Little, just those little things, but then you can glean those tips from the guy that does it professionally to yeah, if you don't have this, you can use this. Or,
And knowing the people hey, I know you have access to tool XYZ because you're buddies with the guy who does this for professionally. I can't get there. But what I can do is I either A, am willing to pay if I've got this expendable income, or B, I've got all this fabric sitting around. I can make this if you make that. And, next event we meet, switch out.
Well, like, I had a knife that I picked up at the flea market.
I love flea market finds.
But it needed a new scabbard and everything. And I didn't have the stuff at the time. I had fabric. So I traded one of the local guys. He got a nice new, hand-sewn tunic. I got a nice little, scabbard for the knife. Everything bonus. Sometimes that trading thing goes. Going and visit, people look at helmets, right? Like that's like the number one thing for rattan guys of like the expensive. But I can go to Richard's shop, go to this mystical land that people don't know really exists or how it goes. But I can walk in and he does like every once in a while he'll do like a polearm night. Like, here's how to make a polearm. You guys got rattan, I've got everything else. He shows all the new guys how to make stuff.
Nice.
Like you were talking about, you were watching my shield project, right? He's helped me with that.
That's cool.
So one of the big projects lately is making a shield. Making it fancy, but making it cheap. So like I was at home, I went and to the local recycling place. There had like speed limit signs. Speed limit sign weighs exactly 7 pounds. It's the big one. Aluminum was $1 a pound. So my shield cost me $7.
Rather than 75 for
the
pre-cut
stuff
heater blank.
Yeah, so like the stuff at Grey Cat and stuff, that stuff is awesome. I would love to have one, but I cannot afford the price tag for his machines. I can go scrape it together and do it on my own though, right? So, $7 for Old Street sign, $15 on Amazon for a Boss, or pounding one at a friend's shop. Turning a rawhide dog bone into rawhide shield edging. Drop cloth versus fancy canvas. That kind of thing. So
definitely
all that stuff, so like now this is where we're at with that.
And still under $75.
So just kind of I think my total so far is I'm at like 43.
Very nice.
It's still under $50, but it's taking me time. But like to get it curved, I went to Richard's shop and said, "Hey, can we use your metal roller?" He goes, "Sure, let's figure this out."
I mean, worst case scenario, you can roll a shield with wood. Like you can set up literally 2x and have somebody come stand on the sides of this and work it.
My previous one was ratchet straps and a barrel.
Well, armor. It is amazing to be able to go and buy really, really nice, forged armors, that's crafted with fluting and rolled edges. But at the same time, if you're just starting or you're on a budget, there's nothing wrong with pickle bucket armor. There's absolutely not, because you could cover it up. Fabric can hide a slew of armor sins, when it comes to how pretty it looks. If it does the job, it does the job. Oh no, Moon, you froze for a second.
Like if you're doing like Norse and other personas, a lot of the armor is hidden. Doesn't matter what it was made out of anyway. Exactly. Your guy's wearing like hand-me-down Zoom bangs that like didn't fit some other guy, but he's got fancy whatevers.
As long as it meets the safety requirements and protects you, it doesn't have to be that super high polished chrome finish stainless,
Yep.
as long as it does its function.
I actually gave away my first helmet.
Nice.
There was one of the guys that lives down in Arkansas. His son was fighting. He was like 18 or 19, so he was about my age when I got it. But he was in this really old ratty, and you could like he'd take it off, and the foam was like holding all the sweat, and it's literally just pouring. I'm like, no, dude, I've got this new hotness. You can have this one, which was the old hotness. There you go.
And I love that, when you get new hotness, get rid of your old hotness by giving it to someone, if it's in good shape, that can use it.
Yeah.
Or barter, trade, sell, whatever. But, don't expect somebody to pay for your old hotness what you bought your new hotness for,
Or just tell it, do it for somebody else. I don't care if you give me
pay it
anything.
forward. Pass
Exactly.
it down.
But a lot of it though is like you do have to adjust your mentality to it. Of like, okay, now I have to think like the poor college kid, stuff like what do I have room for? So I saw
living in a 10 by 12 room if you're lucky.
I'm living in man, I'm living in a dorm room. What do I have room for? I might have room for a tote. An extra backpack might be, a little more reasonable. Go in this, or like, one of those Sterilite tubs that can fit under my little portion of the bed or in the closet, depending on how cool your roommates are. So like recently, one of the coolest thing I saw was folks who were coming up from Arkansas. Anywhere they go is a drive. It's long for them to get up to us, because they're at the very corner of the kingdom, right? And there was like a dozen teenagers, like en masse. They're doing the thing together, and they just got like a couple parent types. That one of them was his dad, and his mom. He's like, cool, we're loading up the minivan plus the Suburban. Let's go. And they all went, and they had this
excellent
stuff, and it's like it's an awesome time. But they're doing the thing, and they do have the advantage of like a couple of them are second generation, so that they can learn those tricks and things, but they're still like teaching their friends how to do it.
And I think that's something that maybe we need to start reintegrating and refocusing on, is teaching those tricks to newer players, enabling them to show that to other players.
And so this is where it becomes down to the retention thing. If we're too expensive to play, they will go somewhere else.
Somewhere cheaper.
Yep. Cosplay is cheaper sometimes. Majority of the time, though. LARP's definitely cheaper. We're a LARP, so I don't know why we get all buttered about that. But no, that's just those little things. It's like, hey, I can spend $10 and go get the stuff that's close enough, and everybody's happy. They're just glad you're there. Or you're gonna say, no, you gotta spend more like 100, 200 just for the weekend. And everybody's like, no, man. Sure.
I got kids.
Yeah.
I got kids and four-leggers. Them's expensive.
Oh yeah, that whole like getting the hotel is like the luxury when it's a really long drive. Otherwise, it's day tripping all the way, or camping out. Recently, Crown, I car camped, rolled up. So I got my hammock. I could put it up here. Wasn't really worked out. I slept in the car. Didn't matter. It was just me. But like little things like people are talking about now. They did a recent like how to do Gulf Wars, cheaply, and I was just like, don't go. And they're like, But you have to be willing to, scrimp, maybe be a little uncomfortable, maybe, cram into a space.
Maybe be a lot uncomfortable. Maybe you go, but you spend the day volunteering doing oodles and oodles of work for other people so that they can enjoy themselves so that you can go. I mean,
do the dishes so that you get in on the food plate.
There are people
do the dishes.
Dishes, kid wrangling, are and running water and firewood errands at camping events. Like, people who do those are godsends.
Well, and I'm not saying like, whore yourself out to the point you don't have it. But those little things like, okay, now I got my box of, I'm camping. I'm living off some ramen and some sausages and whatever for the week.
I've got the little tiny stove that's like
little
this
camp
big.
Stove, whatever. Like me, I have one of those rolling toolboxes, and I refer to it as my mule. It can literally be loaded in a truck. I could live out of that thing. Depending on what I want to do. I can throw up my hammock with my tarp, put up my little tent, all those little things. I don't have to be uber, super
giant pavilion. The pavilion that you buy because you want it, because it's so pretty, and you scrimp and you save it until you have the money and then realize that you cannot set it up by yourself. FYI.
Right. Or you forgot to bring the 5 other guys to live in it with you so that you all could fit in their car, I went to Grand Outlandish, and it's the first time those guys rented a GP Small from the Army base.
Nice.
And that's what we camped in. They knew
wrong with that.
Well, they were all military guys. They knew how to put it up. I slept on that thing on the drive down, though, because otherwise there weren't enough seats.
Uncomfortable so that you had a place to stay.
It's those little, trade-offs.
Well, it's that microtransaction. It's a physical uncomfortability for fun. It's the, more uncomfortability and extra work so that I can travel when I can't afford to travel.
Yeah. Well, but if you're having fun, you don't notice.
One of my dear friends, Isgirth, says that she is more than happy to feed someone for a week who's willing to do the labor. And I will tell you, whoever she is feeding will eat so well. I've had the pleasure of eating in her kitchen. It's definitely worth the cost of doing dishes and setting up and tearing down and whatever else.
Oh, yeah. And
yep. Slept on a large cooler. Definitely.
So I'm part Cherokee, right? The guys I was going to Grand Outlandish, they were all very blonde, white, crew-cutted military guys. On the way down, they decided they had to stop at every reservation there was for gas. I'm like, I understand it's cheaper, but this seems like a bad plan. And I'm laying on top of this GP Small in the middle of this van this guy had bought. They'd been overheating almost the entire way. They didn't know the difference between Highway 56 and 156. It's just an adventure, overnight. And we pull in, and I wake up and I look outside and I can see the highway. And it's like a good mile away down this dirt road. And I'm like, where the hell are we? And I look over and I'm looking out the window and I see them just da-da-da-da-da into this gas station. And it's like such and such reservation. I can see all the people. They just looking at. I see the guy's hands at the counter. First his hands are on top, and then his hands go down.
Oh no, your sounds.
Get inside, and he looks over at me, and then he looks again. He goes, And I'm just like, yeah. He's like, you're responsible for anything they do here, right? Yes, sir. Cool. And his hands come up over the counter again. And I'm like, go over there, grab him, like, give me your money, and tell me whatever it was you wanted, and just get out. So like, but why? They've been chattering and just the entire like, no, just money. What do you want? Out. I don't want to live here anymore for you. Like, okay. And they go outside, and I'm like, second they were out the door, all the conversation started again. But yeah, you don't get those stories doing the little travels for like the whatevers.
All of those moments.
Yeah. And if people hadn't said, get in the car, or hey, I already paid for you, let's go.
Or don't worry about it.
Or come over to my house, we'll fix you up. I know how to do the thing. Or this is how you do the thing. Or watch me do a stupid little video of me trying to, show people how to do something, and I have no idea what I'm doing myself.
They're not stupid videos, Moon. I'm telling you, Skraeling Saga, if you have not checked out this channel, please check it out. It's flippin' awesome. And your felines do make an appearance.
Yes, a lot. Unfortunately, work gets in the way of it because I work at a school, and the school says you don't have time to teach people how to do things on the internet. So, but yeah,
summer is coming.
Yeah. Well, so like this last week was literally a week of Mondays for us. We had 2 snow days, and a day off. So literally we only had 2 days where we were working, but it was like Monday all over again.
But you're not supposed to have 2 feet of snow in like that time period.
Yeah. Or like negative whatever wind chill beforehand. So, but after a while, you're like, yeah, the internet can wait. I'll post some pictures instead. That is why I did kind of a little other thing. We also have a thing called the Calendar Winter Challenge. So the Winter Project Challenge. It's basically it's like winter sets in. That's when the projects start. You think I have it geared like solstice rolls around, you try and collect up all your stuff. That way, when we hit the official first day of winter, you start on your projects, and then until we get spring solstice, you see what you can get done. So you have people, they're working on clothes. One of the ladies she is our silent herald. She does all the cool stuff. She's got all sorts of projects she works on, but it's not quite a sounding board. It's like, hey, encourage the people to make the things that they've been collecting the stuff for.
Yeah. Well, as a fellow magpie crowing type person, I have a tendency to find things with the best intention, and they you get a craft stash.
Yep.
And then you get to that point where it's like, oh, I still haven't found the rest of what I need to make this really cool thing. And somebody will say something and you're like, oh, hey, here you go.
So like for me, I found like using like the internet and Facebook and things like that as a way to, it's like an accountability thing for myself, because like the second I show it off like a little bit, then I feel obligated to finish it. Even though part of me sometimes just going like, no, I don't want to look at this thing. I don't want to touch it.
Well, it goes in timeout then.
Yeah, but people are going, hey, what about that thing? How's your thing? And you're like,
are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet?
Or you give yourself like my shield is my Queen's Prize entry. It was supposed to be done this coming weekend, but Queen's Prize was postponed. So
you have a little more time now.
A little more time. I was lucky. I talked to the autocrat, so I was sitting there talking to myself, and said, "Hey, cases are up. Maybe we shouldn't do this thing. Need a little break. Yeah. That was our thing, is we had to delay, but like little things like that, you can give yourself, hey, I'm going to enter this thing. I have no intention of winning or whatever. I want to enter. And so it gives you that, oh, hey, I did a project. I did a thing.
Definitely. Moon, it's been a pleasure. Like, we definitely have very similar thoughts when it comes to doing things in a manner that's not going to break us. Like, I don't want to have to eat ramen, 3 meals a day for a month to be able to afford something. Or if I'm able to afford for somebody else so that they don't have to do that, or maybe they're already doing it and I can foot the bill for a little, manual labor or just company. It's definitely a mentality that makes our game more affordable and definitely more enjoyable.
Well, and for me, it's just like, it's the more people that are there, the better the event is, the better the thing is. It's just more fun. And
Definitely.
I definitely remember what it was like being that poor kid and not knowing how, and then these people would come along and go, hey, do this thing and this thing, and cool, we're gone. Like, well, that's brilliant, but hey, like, no, help the next guy. Cool.
Well, and it's time. We need to help the next people. We need to help each other.
And then so this is my kind of one rant bit. That would be the one thing that causes the SCA to age out, is we forget what it was like to be those kids, doing the thing that aren't, people look at the younger ones like, oh, it's just second gen kid. They may not be. It could be their friend that's just trying. So, I don't know if she's watching. So if Celine's watching, I watch the stuff she does for her, like her shows and the things she like scrapes together and things like that. So she may not know it, but she's kind of like one of my little, I'm a fangirling moment, for all her stuff. So
what's her full name or her channel or where you view her,
oh,
Moon, so that you can shout out to her?
Her name is Celine. She's one of our locals over in Missouri. So I don't know if she's watching this, but she might.
Well, you'll have to tell her.
I will. But like seeing the things they do, like, I can totally be a fan of somebody new, like doing way cool things out of like, how the hell do you do that? That kind of thing. I mean, your guys' show, that talking the thing, like, I've had that YouTube channel for a bit, but it's like when it's just one dude and you're trying to do the thing, but you guys now have like this team, that makes a world of difference. So
I couldn't do this show if it wasn't for Cal and all the people that he has to help out, because I have a computer, I know how to work it, I know how to run program, but there's no way that I can do this and all the rest at the same time. And definitely not as well as Cal does.
Yeah. Well, it takes a child to raise a village,
Or you flatter me. So, Cal.
Hey, I even made sure I had a mug just for this thing.
You did. And rather than, normally I have a Maggie mug that I'm in love with, but this is a mug that I had made with one of my dear friends. We went to one of those sip and paints because I wanted a mug and I couldn't afford a period mug, but the sip and paints was like $25 for the giant coffee pot killer sign. And so I just painted it and like, this is my mug. Nobody will steal it. I'll put my name on the handle and, they will know. So I went with the cheaper mug to show that you can.
Yeah, this is my guilty pleasure mug. This is my Lars wear. So Sir Lars, who has Please Touch pottery that often goes to Penzic and all that, he actually just lives over in Lawrence. Surprise. And
people with these
I have
skills that
access
you
to
live
all these
by.
people. It's crazy, and I might use that on occasion. But he does art shows off his porch and off Facebook and things. So that's another one. You look up on YouTube, look for Please Touch Pottery. He does little things about being a potter. But he does like little art shows. He puts them up on Facebook. Says these things need a new home, and you can go, I want that one. And there's this little, almost like a drug deal going on because you go up, you dump the money in the mailbox, and your pot's sitting there on the porch, and then you run away going hee hee. And if you're lucky, there's like dozen eggs to go with your
Oh, that's awesome.
pottery.
That's cool. My shout out this week. There are so many new SCA TikTok
Yes.
creators that I found this week. And there's too many names to name them all. I'm going to make a huge list for the next show and write them all down. But scribble all over the place, heraldry all over the place, costuming, just fighting, everything. And it is amazing. Ooh, somebody else likes the Please Touch Pottery videos. Alfred Court. This also.
Yeah.
Now I must go check it out. But I don't
Yes.
live close enough to do this little
but
sneaky, stealthy. I might have to talk to you, Moon, and see if we can work out some transactional.
The SCA mail is an amazing thing.
I know.
So definitely do that.
Let's see here. Do you have any other things you want to touch on before we wrap it up today?
I think like really overall, like it comes down to like being that person you need.
Yeah.
Think about that one hard thing that trying to get a grasp on, trying to do the thing, be that person for somebody else and show them how to do it because you've learned all the tricks by now. Like, I want to know how to do. She doesn't show it off. My wife has done like a pre-printing class. She taught people in the middle of a war how to do pre-prints. So she had it down to a system. I want to know how to do that. Hey, honey, or like how to sew.
I want to go take that class from your wife.
Or sometimes it's also a matter of cultivating those people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say like, yes, come on to me, but no, it is make friends with them so you can call them like, hey, how do you do this? Like my current knight, there's a reason he's also a Laurel because of all his like leatherworking things. I can say, hey, how'd you do that? And even if we can't get together because he lives in a different state, we can sit over the phone. He goes, do this thing and this thing. Next thing you know, or a pattern mysteriously appears in the mail for me. Be willing to share those things, send them off. So recently, IKEA in Kansas City had this huge sale on king size bed sheets that were linen. Right, and next thing you know, Kingdom, Facebook group is going, hey, it's there, go get it. I couldn't find it. Hey, it's over here up front in the thing. You have like little online scavenger hunt going on to this giant bin that's full of sheets
that are all linen.
Next thing people know, they're and for $20 they're walking away with over 6 yards of really nice white linen they can dye whatever they want, and it's stupid wide. They can make whatever they want.
Very nice.
All the cool stuff. So
share the deals with people. Let them know.
Yeah, share the things. It's just be willing to go, yeah, I know how to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, let me talk a little bit about what's coming up on our next episode for Road to Retention on the 20th of this month. I have the pleasure of interviewing Her Ladyship Isgarth, my twin sistership, because we both received our ladyships on the same day. And it'll be amazing. Coming up on 213 with Coffee with Cal, they're going to talk about the sunk cost with Wu Yun Darren. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but I'm going to watch it and find out.
I mean,
And
sunk cost is what we're doing here. It's like, how much you gonna sink into this thing?
I think they're going to talk about something different than what we're talking about. I think it'll still be worth to watch.
It all goes together.
It does all go together. That's the great thing about it. If you are looking for some fun merchandise, if you want to go to Kal-bardr's Redbubble, come on, Cal, pop it up. Buy stickers at Redbubble. Search for KKK production or KK Productions. And I got to tell you, I need to order that onion sticker because I need the onion sticker. If you want to also go onto TikTok and watch some of Cal's hilarious videos, you can check him out on TikTok at Kal-bardr. If you want to go to mine, I promise I will have some more content uploaded to mine. I'm at Gina Kits. Any other thing you want to say, Moon, before we pop off here?
No, I gotta learn TikTok.
We could probably hook you up with somebody who could help you with that.
Yeah, it's one of my kids is like really good at it, and I'm like, you go where the people are, so you can tell them the things, but then you're
have the kids show you. I'm telling you, it's fun, and there's so much information and amazing people. So thank everybody for joining us today. If you're watching tonight, if you're watching another morning, good afternoon. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Have a wonderful night. Bye, everybody.